Blair, you kind of referenced it, but what a crazy parity-filled league this has been this year. So 9 of the 17 games in the Big 12 have been decided by a touchdown or less. 3 of the 4 last week were decided by just 3 points. You guys have been around this league a long time. Is this the most balanced this conference has ever been?
Yeah, I'm of that opinion. Of course, we're in the middle of this season, and but one thing I did do, I looked up some previous years, and there was one year, I think it was the year before, maybe it was 2 years before Baylor won the title. Didn't they win it in 14? It was the first year of the first year of the college football playoff. We all know that and how that played out. But in 2 years before that, in 2012, that was a year Kansas State won the Big 12. They were tied with Oklahoma, but beat OU in a head-to-head. There were 9 bowl teams that year. 9 of the 10 teams went to a bowl game. So for something like that to happen, you've got to have, not only you have to have a terrible team at the bottom, and of course Kansas was winless that year, so everybody got to win over Kansas. But then you can't really have too many teams at the top. That you can't have a top-heavy league either. So in 2012, you had all these 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 type teams, and that's how you get 9 in a bowl, 9 of the 10 in a bowl game that year. And I kind of think we're looking at something like that this year. Now they're all going to beat up on each other, but at the midway point in the season, everybody's got at least 3 wins. So if you have the rest of your games the rest of the way, if everybody wins at home, say, I think you could end up with 8 or 9 bowl teams this year, and that nothing says parity like a whole bunch of 6-6 and 7-5 teams.
Well, we've even discussed the possibility on this podcast a couple weeks ago of there being 10 bowl teams in this league. It's not out of the realm of possibility, hard to do, but Baylor, the defending Big 12 champ, still needs 3 to get there. And yet I somehow still think they'll do it. And we thought West Virginia might be the outlier, and they picked up a key win last week against Baylor. John, I mean, what do you think? Is this the craziest, most topsy-turvy league that you can remember?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's just a real great team, a real dominating team. All the games have been close so far, and there's not a really horrible team either. So you got a bunch of teams that are kind of similar, just as far as what they can do. And I think, the last week of the year, we're going to have a bunch of 5-6, 6-5 teams coming into that final week, and probably some bowl games will be on the line. But it's really fun to see, not seeing a lot of blowouts and, seeing really close games week after week. I really think that says a lot about the league.
Yeah, and I think OU and Texas are sitting there going, man, we got to get out of this dog-eat-dog conference, man. Get over to something where it's a little more top-heavy,
Yeah, no telling what those guys are, thinking now. Look, Texas is coming on. I kind of like what they're doing here, but they did lose at Tech, and I don't know if they're the best team in the league. They were certainly not ranked as they would, as the best team. They're behind TCU, Oklahoma State, K-State, at least when it comes to maybe a power ranking of Big 12 teams. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at a couple of 7-2 teams in the Big 12 championship game. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure we've ever had that. Just not since it's been a 10-team league. 8-1s or 9-0s. I'm not sure we've had 2 7-2s. And like I said earlier, if the Big 12 team's not going to be in the national championship in the Final Four, then let it be like this. Let it be where every game is interesting. You can't miss. Every time slot on Saturday, if you're watching from home, you just want to see every game. And I was thoroughly entertained by TCU Oklahoma State last week, and in another year I might not have watched that game or just been interested in the score, but
right,
I wanted to see that game this year, and there are a lot of them like that.
Yeah, no doubt, it's a lot of fun.